Today we are going to talk about 9.1 circulatory system. So what is circulatory system? Circulatory system is the body's transport system. It moves the blood all around the body to carry the oxygen and nutrients to every part and remove the waste products such as carbon dioxide. The blood flows in blood vessels, which are a network of tubes in the body. Now we are going to discuss about the parts of the circulatory system. So first is heart. The heart is a strong muscle that pumps blood. It works like a pump to push the blood to the rest of the body under high pressure. Second, valves. Valves is like the one-way doors inside the heart and some vents. They make sure that the blood flow in only one direction and prevent the backflow of the blood. Now, blood. Blood carries oxygen and nutrients and waste. It's like the delivery trunk of the body. The blood takes the carbon dioxide from the cells to the lung, so that when we breathe out, we can breathe the waste product out of our body. And now is the blood vessels. Blood vessels are like the roots or tubes where the blood travels, and it also includes the nutrients, oxygen, and also carbon dioxide inside the blood vessels. Now is the lung. The lungs work with the circulatory system to add oxygen to the blood and also to remove the carbon dioxide when we breathe out. Oxygen moves from the alveoli of the lung into the blood and is then carried to the cells where it is used for respiration. And the carbon dioxide is diffused from the cells to our blood vessels so that it can be breathed out when we carry out respiration. So why is it important? So why the blood circulatory system is so important for us? The circulatory system keeps all parts of your body healthy and working by bringing what they need and taking away what we don't need. The blood is like a delivery trunk that brings those that are important to us, such as food and oxygen. It also acts like a garbage trunk because it carries away the rubbish, such as the carbon dioxide. So in this diagram, here is the general layout of the circulatory system of a human, as seen from the front. Oxygen is diffused into the blood from the alveoli of the lung. So because of the oxygen diffusion, the deoxygenated blood is now changed to oxygenated blood. In the diagram here, deoxygenated blood is shown as blue color and oxygenated blood is shown as red color. But in reality, both are actually red, just different shades. Oxygenated blood is bright red, but the deoxygenated blood is dark red. The color difference is used only to make it easier for us to differentiate. So, because of the oxygen diffusion, the deoxygenated blood is now changed to oxygenated blood. And the oxygenated blood is now carried from the lung towards the heart. First, it's through the atrium, and then after that, it will go through the ventricle. So from the ventricle, the heart will pump out of the heart under high blood pressure to other part of our cells. So the oxygen will be diffused from the blood to the body cells under high pressure. So because the oxygen is diffused from the blood capillaries out of the, because of the blood is diffused from the blood vessels into our body cells, and then the oxygen content is lesser. And because of that, the oxygenated blood is now changed to deoxygenated blood. The deoxygenated blood will go again to the heart. First is through the atrium and then ventricle, and then after that it will be pumped to the lung. The deoxygenated blood enters the right side of the heart, and then it will be pumped to the lung to get the oxygen. So as we look at the heart diagram here, the left side and the right side are actually the opposite of our left and right. This is because the diagram here shows the heart as if it were inside your chest. So the right side of the diagram is actually your left side. The left side of the diagram is actually your right side. And that's why here is the left side of the heart, and here stated is right side of the heart. So oxygenating the blood. The blood in the left-hand side of the heart has come from the lung and thus was picked up in the capillaries surrounding the alveoli. The capillaries surrounding the alveoli is shown as here. So because of the oxygen is diffused from the lung to the blood capillaries, it becomes oxygenated. So the oxygenated blood sent around the body for respiration. So when the oxygen is received by the blood now become deoxygenated because the oxygen content is lesser. And thus the deoxygenated blood is now brought back to the right-hand side of the heart. It then goes to the lung. Again, it becomes oxygenated because the oxygen is again diffused into the blood capillaries around the alveoli. So the full simple pathway of the blood circulation is body, and then right atrium of the heart, right ventricle of the heart, and then it will goes to the lung. And then left atrium, left ventricle, and then it will go to the other part of our body. So what is double circulation? Double circulation, double means twice. So the blood passes through the heart twice on one complete circuit of the body. As we shown, as is stated here, the blood need to pass through the heart twice before it's going to our cells. So there are two parts in our double circulatory system. First, the blood vessels that take the blood to the lung and back is known as the pulmonary system. Second, the blood vessels that take the blood to the rest of the body and back is known as the systemic circulation. As shown here, this is the pulmonary circulation and this is the systemic circulation. The pulmonary circulation brings the blood from the heart back to the lung, and because of the oxygen diffusion, it becomes oxygenated blood, and then it will go again to the lung and pass through the other part of our body. And systemic circulation means the blood that comes out of the heart and will go to the other part of the body, and then it becomes deoxygenated blood and then back to the heart. So you can see here the blood is changed from blue color to red color, blue color, and so from red color to blue color, red color to blue color, because the oxygen is diffused to our body cells and then it becomes deoxygenated. Now we talk about single circulatory system. The easiest example is the fish. So when the blood flows through the tiny blood vessels in a fish gills or a mammal's lung, it loses a lot of pressure that was given to it by the pumping of the heart. When the blood flows through the tiny blood vessels in a fish gill or a mammal gills or a mammal's lung, it loses a lot of pressure. This is because the gills in fish and the alveoli in mammals are surrounded by capillaries, which are very narrow and thin-walled blood vessels. So when the blood flows into these tiny capillaries, it experiences a large resistance to flow because the vessels are so narrow and there are so many of them. And because of the large resistance, the blood slows down and the pressure drops. In the mammal, this low blood pressure is delivered back to the heart, which raises its pressure again before sending it off to the rest of the body. However, in a fish, the low blood pressure just continues around the fish body. This means that the blood travels much more slowly to a fish body organs than it does in a mammal. This means that at first, blood flows through the blood vessels of both mammals and also fish at a very low pressure when it passes through the lungs and also passes through the gills. However, in mammals, the blood then returns to the heart and is pumped out again at very high pressure to the body. While in fish, the blood does not return to the heart after the gills, so it continues to flow around the body at a very low pressure. So why it is so important for us to have a high blood pressure pumped out from the heart to the rest of our body? This is because any tissues that are metabolically very active need a lot of oxygen to be delivered to them as quickly as possible. And this delivery is much more effective in a mammal than in a fish. What does it mean by metabolically very active? Metabolically very active is some parts of our body that use a lot of energy, such as our brain, when we need to memorize, and our heart, because we need to pump the blood to the rest of the body, and muscles during our exercise. So during our exercise, we need a lot of oxygen, so the muscles will be ready. So the muscles will be under very high pressure. So these tissues need a fast and constant supply of oxygen and nutrients like glucose to release energy by respiration. In mammals, oxygen delivery is faster and more effective because they have double circulation. And the left ventricle pumps blood at a very high pressure to our body. And because of the high pressure, this ensures that the oxygen will reach our cells in a very fast pace. While in fish, the blood reaches tissues more slowly because after passing through the gills, it's at very low pressure. So what is the question? Which side of the heart contains oxygenated blood and which side contains deoxygenated blood? So let's go back to the diagram. So here is the left side of the heart. So do you remember that because the left side and the right side of the heart is actually opposite of our left side and right side. This is because it shows that the heart that is in our chest. So the left side of the heart, left atrium and the left ventricle contains oxygenated blood, while the right side of the heart, such as the right atrium and right ventricle, contain deoxygenated blood. Blood becomes deoxygenated in the body tissues because as the oxygenated blood reaches the capillaries, oxygen is diffused out of the blood into the cells where it is used for respiration. At the same time, carbon dioxide diffused from the cells into the blood, making the blood become deoxygenated. So explain why a double circulatory system can provide respiring cells with oxygen more quickly than a single circulatory system. And double circulatory system is very important for mammals. This is because in a double circulatory system, blood passes through the heart twice in one complete circuit. So after losing the pressure in the lung, the blood returns to the heart and is pumped again at very high pressure. The very high pressure is to make sure that the oxygen can be delivered to our cells as quickly as possible and very efficiently than in a single circulatory system. When the blood only passes through the heart once and continues to the body at very low pressure. So in single circulatory system, the blood is always flow at very low pressure. While in double circulatory system, after the blood is pumped from the heart, it will be pumped under high pressure so that each of the cells will receive the oxygen as fast as possible, especially when we are carrying out some activities such as exercise and when we need to use a lot of energy during our running and during our exam where we need to use a lot of oxygen. That's all.